Welcome to International Securities Exchange's podcast series. Facilitated by renowned educators, ISE podcasts are intended to teach beginning as well as seasoned investors the ins and outs of trading. To find an updated list of podcasts, please visit www.ise.com/podcasts. Please be sure to listen to our important message following this episode regarding the risks of investing in exchange-traded options.
Welcome, everyone. This is Steve Meisinger, your host for the ISE webinar series. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have Headley with us. Price is the founder of BigTrends.com, where he likes to say they discover the major moves in stocks and options. And today he'll be talking about opportunities and technical trends for trading FX options. It's always great when we have Price. Price has been with us a number of times, and he shares some insight that a lot of other people don't really have. He thinks a little bit differently, and I find that to be very refreshing. So I want to say thanks, Price. You're always great when you come on, and I just want to say thanks for joining us again. This is Price Headley coming on. So Price, why don't you take it away?
Well, thanks, Steve. It's always a pleasure to be here on the ISE webinar series, and appreciate you having me. It's and welcome everybody. Glad you can join us tonight. We are going to focus on some of my unique approaches that I look for really in spotting the technical trend first. And one of the things that you'll find that I think really makes the Forex vehicles very attractive is their nature to trend. So when you see me talking about trends, I want vehicles that I think really have great ability to trend. And so definitely the Forex, all the foreign exchange currencies, have a really nice trending characteristic, at least at times. So based on the times that my indicators say it's time for it to trend, they tend to be very persistent and consistent in actually really showing you that level of confidence that you want when you are making your trade. So that's one of the reasons I'm particularly attracted to the foreign exchange and, of course, options on the FX as well. And we're going to be featuring, of course, tonight looking at the ISE FX options vehicles. Of course, we have to have the appropriate disclaimers here that this is not taking into consideration commissions or other fees or taxes or margin requirements just for the sake of simplicity. So these are all factors you should consider as you evaluate any given strategy. You know how it is that we're focused here on education, not making any specific recommendations. So remember, this is for illustrative and educational purposes only, and recommend that everybody get a copy of the Characteristics and Risks of Standardized Options booklet, because that gives you a lot of great education, and you can get a prospectus there without charge on request at 888 Options or through the www.888options.com site. So definitely encourage you to check that out and get a copy of it, because you need to know the risks as well as the rewards of options trading, and certainly we're going to help to educate you here today, show you some examples of the types of things that I would do, not saying that you should do it, but just looking at the way that I do things, and maybe you can learn something from that and consider whether you want to implement that into your own strategy. When we talk about the ISE FX options, there's a number of vehicles, and there's really 6 major ones that I like to focus on. I know that they're always looking for new opportunities, but the beautiful thing about this is we're dealing with here the exchange-listed securities. So it used to be a lot more difficult to trade the foreign exchange markets, but ISE has made it real simple to trade these pairs, if you will, comparing the U.S. dollar against, in this case, 6 other major currencies. They are accessible through your options broker. It is cash settled, so that's useful, and of course they keep it in U.S. dollars, which keeps it real simple. Now, some people always ask me, what's the difference between the types of exercise? If we say European-style exercise, that means that the options can only be exercised at their expiration date and not before. whereas with American-style options, they could theoretically be exercised at any point during the holding period. So if you were short an option as part of a spread or what have you, you're not going to be as concerned about an early exercise situation because these are at the expiration only European-style exercise. And they can be traded, of course, as spreads. We'll try to keep it simple here tonight, but the beautiful thing about it is that as you grow your knowledge, you can certainly expand the types of strategies you're looking for. So the big six, if you will, that I'm focusing on here on the ISE FX pairs, remember you can see that every one is quoted with the dollar quoted on top with the foreign currency quoted below that. So you've got the dollar compared to the U.S. dollar versus Australian dollar is ticker symbol AUX over at ISE. And then you've got the British pound, U.S. dollar against the Great British pound. You've got BPX as a symbol, U.S. dollar against the Canadian dollar. Steve was mentioning that right before we started, that basically I'd made a very strong call on the dollar tanking against the Canadian dollar last year, and it proved to be a very timely call, and that was all based on just purely following the technical trends, that this was the best trending index at the time. And so, by the way, since these are all quoted U.S. dollar against these currencies, you can get a pretty good gauge by looking at all these charts, as we will seek to do a little bit later to bring it up to date with the outlook of these big six, that, which one's relatively stronger against the dollar or relatively weaker against the dollar. So that helps you to start to make some relative decisions about where you'd like to deploy your capital potentially. So keep that in mind as well. You don't want to just look at one all the time. I like to compare the different currencies against each other, see what's particularly strong or particularly weak compared to the dollar. Of course, the euro, EUI is a very popular one in my eyes, so that you want to know what's happening with the U.S. dollar against the euro and that overall standardized European currency. And then the Swiss franc, U.S. dollar against the Swiss franc CHF, the symbol there is SFC, Sam Frank Cat, and then my favorite symbol of all is the dollar, U.S. dollar against the Japanese yen, the YUK, the YUK. So we'll have fun typing in the YUK and seeing how that's doing with the dollar against the yen. Now remember, for example, if the YUK is going up, that means the dollar is strengthening compared to the yen. So you're looking at, it's always based in terms of how the U.S. dollar is doing against that foreign currency. So any of these that are in uptrends, if you will, means that the dollar is outperforming that particular foreign currency. Of course, if it's in a downtrend, then the dollar is underperforming that other currency. So, and of course, ISE gives you the resources to get a whole lot more information there at their website, ise.com/FX. Very simple one to remember. So, a lot more educational information there where you can really bring your knowledge up to speed. As we alluded to before, the FX options at the ISE are based per U.S. dollar. So, from that perspective, when we're listing the dollar first, we're comparing the dollar against the number of units of the foreign currency would take to translate into that U.S. dollar. So as Steve often says, think of it just as what a U.S. dollar would be worth in the foreign currency terms. So that's when we quote all these out, you'll see how they quote out, and we'll bring that back to what that means in terms of the translation into one particular U.S. dollar. So we'll be looking at that. And then, as we said, the beautiful thing about it is the simplicity at which ISE's made it, where you can trade the FX options from ISE directly through your equity brokerage account. So that way, the same kind of strategies that you like to use on, say, a stock or index options type of a approach, you can do the same thing for these ISE FX options. So as we said, a lot more information on the ISE.com/FX educational site there, including webinars like this one and others. And the beautiful thing, just like Steve mentioned starting the recording here at the beginning, that these are archived. So tonight's is being archived, and you'll be able to go back and recap some of these things, because you will see some things from me that you haven't seen from others. And so from that perspective, it helps to go back and reinforce those principles along the way. So
Thank you for listening to our podcast. To find more podcasts on options, stocks, alternative markets, and market data, please visit www.isc.com/podcasts.